All right, I go along with that.
October 28th, you got 6 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Let's get this work session started. I'll call this work session to order here, conducting business in Franklin County, a work session. The first thing we'll do is have an invocation and pledge. If you please stand, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity and privilege to be here today. We thank thee for the blessings that you will shower our county with. We ask thee that you will continue looking over us and guide us as we go through this meeting tonight. Lead us in our daily lives and be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a comment, Commissioner Strickland is running a little behind, but he's going to join us as soon as possible. He got held up, so we'll continue and stay on schedule, and hopefully Commissioner Strickland will be here shortly. First thing on the agenda tonight is public comments. Do we have any public comments? What's the way?
Thanks, sir. What's the status on the county commission? They're still working
Status on what?
on the new county commissioner?
On the county manager
Oh, I'm sorry.
position, is that what, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that what you're?
Yeah, I'm sorry, when you get 100 shows. Yeah.
Let me give you an update on that.
Yeah.
We've been taking applications now. We already received 19 applications
All right.
for the position. All the commissioners has been going into the office independently and looking at the applications that we have. Tonight, we're going, as you see, the last thing on our list is that we're going into executive session, and we're going to discuss the personnel that's applied for that position and put our heads together and see if we can spot X number that we would like to interview, to come face to face with and talk to those individuals. So our timetable is been moved back somewhat. We're looking at possibility of interviews taking place in November. We'd like to announce, if we can determine who would like to be in that position, we would like to do it 14 days before our December meeting, in order that our December meeting that we could announce to the public, well, we'd already been announced to the public at 14 days that we have to put it out to the public, who is our finalist. And hopefully by the December meeting, we can employ the new personnel. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that's good. And one other thing. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to have a big blowout for Miss Lynn Allen, all about that.
Yes.
We really want to support her. She's committed one and got the hospital going, as you probably know. And so she's going to be retiring tomorrow, and I think it's advantageous for many of us as it starts at, I think, 10 to 5 o'clock. That's going to be held over at the Chamber of Commerce, because she's just a real fine Christian person.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Lynn Allen will be resigning from that position. As you know, Frank Penn has been employed in her place, and I'd like to encourage all the public to come by and wish her well, and that will take place tomorrow at the Chamber Industrial Building.
Request to EPD for the reimbursement of costs that Franklin County has to spend investigating and for monitoring on our closed municipal waste landfill. I'm glad to announce that we did finally receive approval for $30,068.80 from EPD through that fund. However, there is some more paperwork that we need to do to be able to receive that fund. The first of which is the resolution that you have before you. So I would like at our regular meeting on Monday, I would hope that this board would see fit to approve that resolution so that we can get those funds headed toward Franklin County. Y'all glad to answer any questions if I can regarding that matter.
Commissioners, y'all have any questions about this resolution that we need to act on in our regular session come Monday?
No, sir.
This is reimbursement, and we certainly need to apply for it, and receive it. That's 30,000 more bucks that we can use, certainly. Any other questions, statements? Okay, Commissioners, be ready to act on that resolution at the next meeting. Let's talk about the FLIR 2015 LMP funds. Mr. Phillips?
Yes, sir. It's time for us to submit our application for fiscal year 2015 LMIG program through the Georgia Department of Transportation. Based on our formula amount, we'll receive $393,518.60 through the program. As you know, we're required to provide a 30% match to that funding. So we're looking for a project of around $563,000. Staff has identified a list of potential roads that you have before you tonight that would all be asphalt resurfacing, deep base patching, leveling and striping for your consideration. Of course, we can do any type of road project that meets DOT specifications and that we have right of way. But this project list of, I think it's actually 11 roads, if I'm not mistaken, is about 6 miles. And it works out to our funding limit approximately based on our cost estimates. But what I'd like from you all is any ideas that you have regarding the list. If you're okay with this list, we can certainly move forward with it. But if you have any additions or deletions, changes to the list, we can also consider those at our meeting Monday night.
Looks as though 11 additional roads here to receive this with the LMIG money. So
Yes.
in
Yes, sir.
2015, gentlemen, y'all got any statements thinking the Nova Road that the staff has left off here, or we need to add one that we may want to take off? We need to approve this list come Monday.
The two that I had that we had discussed, New Hope Extension and Roach Road, were both included. Roach Road in particular.
Roach Road is
It is. It's just in dire need of
John, have
attention.
you done a takeoff on these yet?
I have, and it works out, based on my estimate, works out awfully close to that project limit of $563,000.
Basically, the inch and a quarter.
That's correct.
Did
Yes,
you calculate the patching quantities?
I did.
Okay.
Have patching, leveling, striping, shoulder building, so this would be a complete project.
Excellent.
Very good.
I think it's important to mention that this is one of those functions that our road department personnel are not equipped for.
That's
We're
correct.
typically working on the dirt roads and other aspects, mowing, et cetera, so it's critical that we leverage these state funds and maintain our paved roads at this juncture before they further deteriorate, and then you end up with safety issues or much more cost. So very good job for our staff of identifying these roads.
I may mention, I believe that 2014 roads have been complete, the striping and work for this year.
That is correct. Our LMIG project for 2014 has been completed, both the asphalt resurfacing and the double surface treatment resurfacing. Our off-system project is very near completion. If you recall, we had 3 roads that were on our resurfacing, and we asked the contractor to hold off on striping those until the resurfacing was done, because we didn't want, of course, to stripe it, overlay that striping and have to come back and pay to restripe. The contractor was scheduled to be in on Monday to do that work, but to my knowledge, they have not been back in. But as soon as they finish that, and then they have some handwork as far as some thermoplastic stop bars and different things to do, that will complete our off-system project. And I will mention, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, that we do have a third off-system project that has been approved for funding through the Department of Transportation. And they're saying that they can fast track that. And so hopefully in the spring of 2015, we'll be able to start our third project. which will essentially stripe the remaining paved roads in Franklin County. So we've been very blessed to be able to participate 3 times in that program. The DOT is making some changes to the program, so it will probably be the last time that we're able to participate, unfortunately.
Includes the signage also.
That's
as you
right.
go through roads that have been part and parcel of the project. They look significantly better, and the safety's enhanced exponentially.
It is, and we're,
There's been a lot of concerns about the striping, so I think it's safe to say that pretty much this time next year, we're looking at a point to try to have all our roads well marked with striping.
we hope. Now, we've been given some pretty optimistic schedules for the off-system before that haven't come through on the funding side.
Okay.
But based on our latest information, like I say, hopefully next spring, we can let a project that would pretty much stripe the remaining roads, put signage on the remaining roads that haven't been addressed.
Excellent. Gentlemen, y'all have any other questions? Appreciate y'all putting that package together. Gentlemen, if y'all be ready to act on the LV project for next year, we'll vote on that Monday. Now, let's talk about the water line installation. We're coming right along with the county and so forth. Let's vote.
Yes, sir. As you know, we identified the project to install water on Hill Crossing Road between State Route 51, Sandy Cross Road, and State Route 174, Salem Road, back a few months ago. Our staff has been working on that project and are nearing completion of that. So we would like to ask the board to identify the next project for our county forces. Staff and I would like for you to consider sort of the next portion of Hill Crossing Road, which would go from Salem Road over to Roach Road and then down Roach Road to eliminate a dead end line that we have there. That would be our suggestion for our next project, but we're certainly open to any suggestions that the board may have.
Okay.
Reno Road, that's a dead end road.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, that is the most heavily packed road for, I think it's a mile down through there, I don't know, but.
Right.
And I think it's a project we definitely should do. I know there's chicken houses down there, I couldn't tell you how many houses there, and they do need water desperately. Is that gonna cause a problem with it being dead end in the fact, would because there's so many people there alleviate a lot of having to
Yes,
drain?
most definitely. And that is a project that we get a tremendous amount of calls regarding the quality of water that they have now through their existing wells. And there certainly appears to be a lot of interest in that project.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, that this going Hill Crossing up to Roach Road and back over, that's the other thing that it would do, is it would provide us a tie-in point to come back and then to look at
Because you
doing
got it
Reno
on Salem,
Road.
and then you got it on Terrytown.
That's right.
I think as part of providing direction, it would make sense to add Reno Road into the staff's proposed system improvements without further discussion. I mean, you can look at Reno Road, and it has the highest population density of potential services
Yeah, I don't
per
know.
1,000 feet.
Yeah, I don't know of any road that's got as heavy population.
Right. And back to your original question, if we get all those people using water, that does definitely eliminate that issue of having stagnant water in a dead end line. We get that usage, that would eliminate that concern.
One thing that I would like to see, we've had a significant interest from residents on Atkinson Bridge. I think there are 16 residences from 145 back over to Harrison Ridge Road, which we already have water, past Riverside Church, on the west side of the bridge. But I know there's been a significant number of residents who are interested. They've got water quality as well as availability. You know, during some of the recent weather events that, you know, we've had, they've had to go make modifications and drill their wells even deeper. I know that based on our recent research that there's no right-of-way on the road, but based on, you know, residents that were even here at our meeting last month, they indicated a willingness to deed whatever right-of-way is required. And there again, you're tying in an existing dead-end segment of line on Atkinson Bridge and connecting it to 145, which would complete that part of the circuit. Just something, at least I'd like to have it on the
Sure.
list where we could keep it on the radar.
Sure.
Because it also, you know, as far as our number of services per 1,000 feet, you're looking at about 5,500 feet for that improvement and 15, 16 residences, most of which have expressed an interest.
Very good. And we have started to get our drawings assembled for the right-of-way acquisition on the portion of Atkinson Bridge Road that we discussed
Thank
recently.
Sounds good. Any other questions about this water line extension? Next thing on our list is tonight is to talk a little bit about the proposed changes to the zoning regulations. Ms. Phillips?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Planning Commission has gone through our zoning regulations and has made suggested revisions and changes to the regulations. I know it's pretty overwhelming, so I would not ask you to have a recommendation by Monday night, but just wanted to go ahead and get that into your hands for you all to start to take a look at. We will have our next public hearing on Monday night at 5:30 to allow the public any input on the proposed changes. But if you've had a chance at all to review that and have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those. But
I guess one question I have is, if we're gonna have a public hearing, have we provided this in any format to the public for review?
we've advertised it, we've said that it's available for them to review. Now, we have not had any takers as far as anyone taking a look at the regulations.
Is there any way to make it available electronically, at least on a temporary basis?
Well, we can certainly, if anyone would like for us to email them a PDF of the document, we can certainly do that. I'd be glad to get it in their hands any way possible.
I mean, it's
As
just,
far as
if
the
we're gonna have a
route.
public hearing, if there is interest, I would like to, I mean, I've read through it, and it's taken a significant amount of time, because there's a good many.
It does,
proposed
it's a
changes.
pretty large document to begin with, and then you start to look at the changes and modifications, it takes a while to go through it. And I appreciate the planning commission and all their
Oh,
work
absolutely.
on taking a look at it.
So after we have the public hearing Monday at 5:30, what's your deadline on us trying to sit through this and?
There is no magic deadline.
Yeah.
I would just ask that as soon as you're comfortable to consider it again, that it be placed back on the agenda for adoption.
Right.
The December meeting may be overly optimistic, but I'd like to move forward with it as quickly as we can, because some of the changes are as simple as eliminating some contradictory information where the document may say one thing in one section and then contradict itself in another. So it cleans up a lot of that. It takes into account some of the modifications that have been approved, the changes regarding lot size and some different things. But then also some other issues that have come to our attention that we recognized were not addressed, that we needed to address, that type of thing.
Such as the primary house that we were talking about.
That is correct. That is in here.
We ran across that, where regardless of the acreage, you can have one house on that as far, and we actually had to amend or vote on an issue that someone had put two houses.
Right.
So that,
Well, this addresses that, with the water, the sewer,
Correct.
all the issues.
That's right.
It appears as though the planning commission has done a good job going through this, making, and cleaning up a lot of controversial issues. And after the hearing that we had Monday, a month's time may give us enough time. Why don't we put it back on our agenda for December work session and see if we're ready to vote on it in December?
That sounds great.
And that should give all of us time to sift through all the information.
Unless we have any major issues brought forth during our public hearing that would require further analysis. John, is there any aspect or anything that you think we would need a legal review on?
I've sent it to our attorney for him to take a look at as well. So I don't know that there's anything that really will require any legal modification, but certainly have asked him to take a look at it and advise us if he sees anything.
I should have done
that's-
proactive as usual.
I appreciate that. Any other comments about the changes in the zoning regulations tonight's discussion? Let's move on to the jail expansion that we're really dealing hard with. We do have Commissioner Strickland down, and he's done some, I guess you could say, some investigation about funding items and so forth. I was hoping he would be here by the time we got to that point. But Mr. Phillips, you have some important information also, I think, you pass along to us.
Well, I will be glad, Mr. Chairman, just to give you an update since our last meeting. We talked quite a bit at the last meeting about the possibility of trying to phase in the existing plan. And at least I left here sort of with the direction we were looking at somewhere around $1.5 million threshold, and trying to determine if there was a way we could phase the current plan in, get something in the works as far as doing that. I know Commissioner Strickland has been working, and I know you all have some information on some potential funding options if you wanted to look at that, making up that shortfall based on the money that we have allocated today and what it would cost to get us somewhere around that $1.5 million funding level. I won't really address that. You have that information, and we'll let Commissioner Strickland talk further along that at the appropriate time. One thing that we have done, and I appreciate our jail administrator and our sheriff being here tonight, and they were able to sit in on one meeting that we had recently, and we've talked with some different, with the architect and some contracting folks to sort of give us some input on the existing plan, and if we felt like we could do something as far as phasing the current plan in with a phase one at around $1.5 million. Unfortunately, to date, we don't have anyone that's been able to tell us a definite plan to do that they feel like would meet that funding threshold. One thing that I would ask that you all may consider is it certainly appears there's an opportunity that we could save some money by putting the project out as a design build type project, where basically we ask for people to give us a design construction proposal, and we set basically the funding limit. So we say for $1.5 million, we would like to ask qualified bidders to give us a proposal to come up with a plan and that they could do and that they could build for $1.5 million.
And we would establish parameters as
Exactly.
far as number of detainees and other aspects as part of
Right.
the request for proposal.
And we could include such things as being able to expand that to a larger
Exactly.
facility at a future date.
So it's not, we're just asking somebody
Correct.
for a bid to design and build a $1.5 million jail. It
Right.
would be within the constraints and parameters that we put together as part of the request for proposal.
Right. The other thing that I like about that procedure is it gives staff a lot of opportunity to be involved with the input as far as what they want or what they would like to see. And so that's just an idea for your consideration.
Well, I think to that point, that it would give us an opportunity to see in concrete figures exactly what we can get for that.
That's the other benefit that I see. To date, of course, we're all basing our numbers on speculation and what we think and estimations, but we don't have anything concrete that we can say as far as we know for certain we could do this for this amount of money. This would give us that opportunity, and of course, with all the projects that we bid, we would have the opportunity then to decline all bids, all proposals.
So we would actually need to take official action, gentlemen, to go that direction on the Monday night, so we could get that hardcore numbers. Now, Mr. Strickland, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry for not been coming this way since 12 o'clock.
Oh, boy,
And
must be a long way from home.
Yeah, but in doing so with this, I'm not exactly sure but I know that I talked with Andrew on the phone on the way here and told me that everything was CC'd to John. The other thing is he was telling me if we did, I don't know if you talked about where, if we wound up with the 600,000, it'd probably cost us about 5,000 a month. Our interest rate would be about 2.7 for 12 years. The other thing is that with what we were looking at is with the USDA, we could get about 3, then we could go as long as far as 40 years, which would lower our payment to only about $500 more than what we've been paying, not counting this January, but up until December 31st. But it would only be about $500 more a month than what we had been paying for the whole entire last 8 years. Because it's averaged about $17.50 a month, that would take it to about $22.50 a month is what we've been paying out to house out inmates for 8 years up until December 31st of last year, or right around that mark. But that way we could, I've also contacted all but I think one local bank here, and they want to make sure we get all of the banks in our county to put in for that. Andrew had pretty much said it's hard to go longer than, he says, if you go 15 years, you're lucky. He said probably about 12, 10, sure.
Is this for bonding or just private capital funding?
This is just no bonding, no whatever.
Okay.
This is just basically just going to the bank, borrowing money. And it's about gonna be from, roughly, he said it could probably be anywhere from 2.6 to 2.8, so he just used 2.7 as a number.
And I also have spoken with several members of local lending institutions, and yeah, they're very interested in at least working with us, looking for an opportunity
Right.
to assist.
Correct. And at the same time, I really wasn't sure because of, it was this time last year when we thought we could do the whole project for 1.5 million, and it wound up being 2.9. So what I did was I asked them to look at 600, 800, $1 million, and worst case scenario, if something's way out there, 1.2 million, because that would put us at roughly with the 850,000 that we have, that would put us at $2,050,000. And I don't think we would actually wind up, hopefully, knock on wood, not go that far as the cost was, but you don't know. But I want to make sure that we're prepared to look at that. And then at the same time, if it were to, I want to make sure that we're with NADA to see, because with that, they'll go out 40 years, and sometimes we have to, and then there's a lot of things to take into consideration with being able to go out a longer period of time, because it gives us a smaller payment.
Sure.
And,
So, actually, by going the direction of putting proposal out there and seeing what we can get concretely, at the same time, we can keep investigating funding
That's-
mechanism that Mr. Strickland and some of us have been working on that issue. So, hopefully we can come back together when we get all that data together and see what direction we can take.
and another thing, I don't know if John related to that, but I asked him what kind of time period we're looking at, and he says, we're looking at probably 45 days. So we could start with what we have to do the construction.
Right.
And then I'm sure within 45 days, we would be able to look at others. With one banker I talked to, I was looking at maybe where we could come in and take like a draw. Again, so we don't have the whole lump sum of money right there, so we're only paying interest on what we're actually using, and then once the construction is complete, then from that point forward, then our note would basically start.
And they're more than willing to work on, it'd be just like a
Correct.
construction loan on
That's
a
correct.
residence.
That's correct.
That was relayed to me also, they're willing.
That'd be a smart way to go.
That's, yeah.
Let's see, if Gary, you got anything you want to interject into this conversation about the jail, the direction the commission is going? I know you discussed that with John. Sheriff, you got anything that you'd like to inject tonight?
I just don't think we need 40 years, because by the time, we're just gonna build half of it now.
Well,
And if you're gonna build half of it now, and then you go 40 years, when you get down the road 5 more years to 10, you're looking at building on again, you're gonna be still paying that note.
well, the thing is, what we're looking at with that, Steve, it's just that on a 40-year note, but we have it where we have no prepayment penalty. And what our actual thoughts are is that, hopefully what my goal is that in 2 years, because it's only be 2 years before if it gets on the referendum to be voted on to continue the splosh, then basically it would really be like, in my opinion, we could probably have it paid for in 5 years, because we got 2 years that we have to pay. Then we would have 3 years with splosh money coming in, and then also, if we've got 50 beds and we're housing out 25, then hopefully we might can pull from Hart County and Elbert County and get money that we could do there. So then it's just that by that, we're looking at a lower dollar to keep us here and then have it paid off, which we'd wind up saving money, is how we would do it. But you look at it just so we have this payment, because like we tell our clients, if you come in here on do a 30-year note, but if you pay $100 toward the principal on $100,000, it'll pay it off in 15 years, just because of money.
Gary?
I was just gonna throw in with, what John had mentioned about the meeting with the construction outfit. And my concern is that we need to get some solid figures in on what the cost is going to be, so we know where we're working at May. We may not be happy with what we're gonna hear.
Right.
And the other thing that we were talking about the other day, just this evening, we're talking about females, and we're gonna move one to another county facility. Well, Stevens County just built their new jail, and it's 2 years old. They're housing females out. 2 years old. Multi-million-dollar operation, and they're housing out.
Wow.
What was
So-
it, 6
so
million or 10 million for that, I believe?
11.
Oh, it was anticipated, and then it wound up, that's right. It
So-
wound up being almost.
So my thing is, if we need to wait and see what the construction folks are gonna tell us. One of the good news that I had was we actually took them out to the site we're wanting to work with, and we were thinking we were gonna have to move a whole lot of dirt, and the gentleman that was there said, didn't think that's what we really needed to do, because we'd be creating a lot of drainage from the land, from the height. So we just changed the direction of the way we're gonna move from the old jail to the new facility, staggering it down. We wouldn't have to move hardly as much dirt as originally planned. But again, we're still operating in the dark, because nobody has come out and said, I can do this for X amount of dollars.
Well, we're not going to until we submit the request for,
Right.
that's what I
And
have
that's-
stated all along.
That's where we're at right now.
We've got to initiate that process to ultimately know where we're gonna be, dollar-wise. You know, we can look at every option that is available, and I appreciate everybody being proactive, but until we get to that point of knowing what the cost is, and as John has stated, we do have the latitude as a board, we do not have to accept the bid at that point. But that gives us some rock-solid numbers as to where we are. And I would see that process probably materializing sometime after the first of the year. I would think we could have, you know, something back in as far as proposals. John, I don't wanna give you a false schedule, but what would your
No,
assessment be?
I think that would be very realistic if this board decides to move forward. I think we could get that out, advertisement, and get those back in.
We can start that out next month.
I will be
Very close to the
ready.
First of the month, we could, first of the year.
I'll be ready Monday night to
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah, to go ahead and start the process.
Yes, sir.
Now we got November, so we got the whole month, we got 60 days in this year left to do, to start to get things coming down.
So I think we headed in the right direction here. Commissioners, y'all be thinking in terms of maybe moving forward with the discussion that we had tonight, so we can get some hardcore numbers and move forward with this. Any other discussion about the jail tonight? Next thing on our list is executive session. So we will adjourn at this time and go into executive session. Do I
You
have
did.
a motion, Commissioner, from going into executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we close regular session and go into executive session to discuss personnel.
Second.
Got a motion, second, going into executive session, any discussion? If not, I'll see. Okay, 5-0, we're going into executive session to discuss personnel.